I would say maybe a month or two prior to this. When you watch my video, we reference it because he said, I remember you. And it took me a minute, and then I remembered him. I pulled him over, I believe it was a tag light, approached the car, smelled the weed. No officer. I asked him, do you have anything inside the vehicle? Same MO. No. He didn't give me as much of a problem as he did this time. Even though I still got him out of the car, I patted him down, I searched the exterior part of his pockets. And I wasn't, based on that, because of the friendliness, I gave him a verbal warning.
So did you go to that extent that time as you did on this one?
No, I didn't.
What was the difference?
The difference was, this was my second encounter, the marijuana smell was much stronger on his person this time, as opposed to my first encounter with him, where I felt like the smell was coming from inside the vehicle a little bit more at that time. And I did search the vehicle, not an extensive search like we did this one. It was more, I would say the stop was probably a quarter, not half, maybe a half or maybe a quarter of the time that this one was. It wasn't a long investigation at all.
So you feel that the search you conducted on Mr. Passawi was just, in your mind, looking for narcotics?
Based on the totality of the circumstances, I'm gonna say I might have went a little too far.
Okay. A little too far, or?
Yeah, I believe I searching him, I don't, when I look at it, it's marijuana, really, I mean, to dig like that for marijuana, no, there doesn't have to be a reason for that.
Well, and it's a good reason to bring up the other one. I'm gonna move to that traffic stop now, where you stopped the young man with the marijuana. We watched the video of that. And in that video, you ask him about the marijuana, and he actually comes up with it and hands it to you. You're willing to throw, well, what'd you do with that marijuana?
It was discarded.
How?
I threw it out.
Just in the garbage?
In a dumpster.
Okay. So why didn't you just drop that into evidence?
I should have.
Destroy. Okay.
I never got around to it. I should have.
So it's not a big deal on that traffic stop with the kid, the marijuana. Why did it go to such an extreme with Mr. Passaway with marijuana?
Because with the kid on that stop, he was upfront and honest. And if you look at, I don't arrest everybody that I come across with the drugs. And I'll tell them, if you watch a lot of my videos when I deal with these people, if you're upfront and you're honest with me, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna let you go with a verbal warning. It's when you, and I'll say this, is when you make me work. It's when I've had contact with you before and I've arrested you for things, or, I have an indication of you may be hiding something, or you're in possession of something, and you're being dishonest. That's when I look to pursue it a little farther, as opposed to honesty and being straight with me. Making my job a little easier, so I can get those drugs off the street.
No, and I get it. Everybody says that, but I mean, you met with people lie to you all the time. That's what they do. They lie to the police.
That's one of the hardest things for me to deal with is people lying to me.
Right.
Because I take it a little too personally, and that's something I have to do a better job with. And I've said that before, and I still say it, and it's just something I got to work on.
Okay. So back to the traffic stop with Officer Rhodes. How many times have you conducted a traffic stop in that same manner, thought the drugs were there, or smelled the drugs were there, and conducted the same type of search?
Do you refer to initially or the latter search?
The latter search. I mean, basically, the strip search, if you will, because Officer Baez said he's been with you 4 times when you've done that, and he actually didn't even know it was a violation of policy until this incident is what he testified to.
Sexually assaulted that man.
Did you do it those 4 times or more than 4 times?
All circumstances are different. It's not going to happen the same every time. Well, one of them that Baez was on with me is, the guy, I brought the guy out of the car, went to searching him. I did the blade in my hand in his buttock. He clinched up. He clinched hard. And then he started yelling and shouting. And then what I felt when I did the hand of my blade was something hard, a hard object in there. And sure enough, he had a big bag of weed, or big bag of crack. I think it was maybe 15, 20 grams of crack cocaine. Passenger had the same exact thing. And I found that later, he had a warrant. And I found that later at the PD, he did the same exact thing. And he had time. So the circumstances are always different. Do they have time to do it? You know, what's his arrest record like? You know, how is he acting? These are all things that as a street level cop, I learned to realize and understand. And that's how their behavior and their actions is how I do my job. I go off of that.
But policy has restrictions on when you can do that and when you can't, not just what the atmosphere is at the time.
Okay.
On that note, were you aware of the agency's policy as it's written?
Probably not as clear cut as I should have been.
Did you read it? Because you signed for it. You signed for the policy back in 2017, for that specific policy that
We
searches.
agree, it's there, it's signed off.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, July 10th, 2017. And are you aware of what the policy said in regards to strip searches is basically what you could do?
I am now. It was my impression at the time it wasn't a strip search. When I think of strip search, I think of bringing him back to the PD, taking his clothes off, when something is too far from my grasp. You know, if they hide something, it's not gonna be too far from my grasp right away. And at the same time, you gotta think about, well, if they put it in their anal cavity like that, and it gets lodged up in there, it could be a health issue. You know?
Well, that's why we have procedures and policy for things like that. I mean, it goes on to cavity searches if we're concerned about something like that.
Mhm.
But, I mean, the policy is there to protect you and the citizens of illegal searches.
Okay.
And perfectly in this situation, I get that other people, there was drugs found on them, but there was no drugs found on him.
But it wasn't a problem then. Why is it a problem now? Because I didn't find anything and because he made a complaint on me?
Well, it's because it's a violation of law and policy.
Why wasn't this addressed when that was going on?
I don't know why it was addressed. I mean, this is the first that we've gotten a complaint about it.
Okay.
And, you know, put yourself in that. If that was your son or your daughter, and they just dropped off a friend who smoked marijuana in the car, and an officer pulls up, and they smell the marijuana, and they thinking what you're thinking, and they pull him out, and they search him the way you searched him in a parking lot with people walking around, how do you think he'd feel about the officer doing that to your child?
Well, this isn't my child. This wasn't, you know, this wasn't an upstanding citizen. This was a guy that smokes weed, that gets arrested for crack cocaine possession.
Oh, he's
that
a
goes to
nobody.
jail,
He doesn't
that
have
comes to us to get a
rights.
good cop off the street and file a complaint. That's what this guy is. That's what this kind of person is.
Yeah, but we can't take somebody's past and use it against them for anything future. I mean, what if this guy has, you know, he found Jesus and he's come clean and he's trying to get his life
So why does
straight?
he smell like weed now?
Maybe somebody was in the car.
Why did he say that? Did he say that during
Well,
the
he doesn't have to
investigation?
say it.
Well, then why wouldn't he dispel my fear that
He doesn't have
I
to
just dropped
say
my
it.
friend off. He was just smoking weed. Maybe it would have.
But he doesn't have to tell you that. Do you know what the Fifth Amendment is? Do you know what that is? It's a
No.
right to not incriminate yourself. So during a traffic stop, I don't have to say a word to you.
Like what he was saying, how it was the black and mild smelling.
He didn't have to, what I'm saying is he didn't have to say a word.
Okay.
He didn't even have to talk to you. Here's my license, and that's the extent of it.
Okay.
And then you have to investigate the call.
And I did investigate it.
Right, but you're investigating it. You just testified that you investigated based on his past. You felt like it was
just
worth.
his past. There was everything going on. It wasn't just his past. I told you. It's the totality of the circumstance. It's not just people's past. It's their actions and behaviors while I'm on scene with them, during my contact with them, is how I go about my job. And I felt strongly that it was hidden inside his pants, somewhere and concealed, either under his private area or concealed in his buttocks. Based on my experiences as a cop here, that's where they hide the drugs, and that's why I did what I did.
And you feel it's
You
justified
stuck your
to do
finger
that type of search
inside.
to get the drugs.
For marijuana, no. For the smell of marijuana, no. Did I do too much? Was I trying to do too much because of maybe I didn't want this guy getting away with this? Yeah.
So what if you found crack in his ass? Is it justified?
If I found crack?
Yeah. Do you feel like it's justified for you to conduct that search? If it was more than marijuana?
How is that I don't understand how using the blade of my hand on his buttock, I don't understand how that's a
So
search.
take the blade out. You stuck your hand in his private area
Right, and I
searched.
told you that's where they hide it.
That's a violation of your.
Okay, so I admit to a violation.
Well, what I'm trying to get is your your peace of mind when it comes to searching people, whether you think it's right or wrong, and if there's a line you cross. I think you see the means justify the ends if you are able to get the narcotics or the gun or whatever it is at the time.
Mhm.
But there's laws that protect people in this country that prevent you from allowing you to do that without probable cause.
I feel like I had probable cause.
He
Just
don't
because
give
you
a
smell
fuck.
marijuana,
Fire
you
him
have
already.
On
He
his
doesn't
behavior,
care.
On his actions, his attitude.
But you can't go off of that.
That's what I went off of.
You smelled marijuana.
Yes.
And based on that marijuana smell, you felt like it was justified to strip search him in a parking lot.
I do not feel like I strip searched him.
Well, per our policy you did. And actually, our policy mimics state statute. So that same wording in our policy is taken straight from state statute.
I don't see how checking underneath his private area and then using the blade of my hand on his buttocks, I don't understand how that's a strip search. I don't.
Because it's not that you felt a gun and you were trying to do it for officer safety. You're smelling marijuana,
I was looking for marijuana.
and it wasn't there.
Right. It wasn't there.
Right. So everything you did to this guy was not just. Go ahead, Al.
At the time that you conducted this search or anything similar to it, did you understand your agency's policy, which mirrors Florida state statute?
No, sir.
When do you feel that it's justified to search a person for whatever reason?
When you're arrested him.
So that's perfect on this one. He wasn't even arrested. That's where our policy starts.
What do you talk, do you mean strip search?
I'm talking about any search. You're saying you're able to, or you feel you're justified in searching anyone if you think you have enough to do it, whether it be you smell it, their attitude, or their past history.
I don't feel like that was a full-blown search.
Well, what's missing?
I think it was still tucked, I still think it was still tucked away, and I just couldn't feel it. If you really want to know the truth. But I wasn't trying to go any further than I did.
I think you went pretty far. I think if there was anything in there, especially amount of smelling.
No, I didn't. The video, yeah, you can look at the video all day long. I know what happened. I know what happened there because I was there. And you guys can look at the video all day long and say this and say that. I know what truly happened. Was it justified? I feel like it was. And it may not meet the mold of the policy here, but I feel like it was. And I've made arrests and I've found drugs. I found a lot of drugs doing that same method.
Do you know this gentleman can file a federal lawsuit against you for unlawful search and seizure? Are you aware of that?
I mean, you could sue anybody for anything these days, so.
Well,
If he feels like he really needs to.
Well, I don't know.
According to you, he hasn't done anything, and a lot of people are all talk, right?
I get it. I'm just making you aware of
He's trying
that.
to get a good cop off the street, and you guys are entertaining it. At the end of the day, that's what it is.
Well, I have to entertain every complaint.
I know.
And to be honest with
That's
you.
why I even told him to go and file a
I heard
complaint.
you. Right.
That's why Bias told him, if you have a complaint, go file it. But if you listen to the video, he consents to whatever I'm gonna do. Just get it over with so I can leave. If you listen to it, just go ahead.
But that doesn't make it okay.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
All right, I'm not gonna argue with you.
Well, I'm just trying to get your state of mind.
This is the
Tom.
My state of
mentality
mind
we're
was he was
dealing
hiding
with.
something, and this
This
was
is his
probably the second
supervisor.
time.
He's
And
arguing with.
Based on his history, based on his actions that day, based on the totality of the circumstances of everything going on, the heavy smell of weed. that
After
was
he
inside the
fondled
car, took him
a
out, that it
man.
was coming from him, I felt like it was concealed
And
on his
did not
person,
find
based on
any
my
weed.
experiences in the past with the arrests that I've made and the contact that
The
I've had with
weed that
people.
he swore he
Okay.
smelled.
How come you didn't complete a report on that call, that you searched him and backed up Officer Rose or anything?
I don't think Officer Rose even wrote a report.
No, you didn't. He gave him a ticket.
Okay. You don't write reports on just tickets, right?
Well, it was a little bit more than just a ticket. I mean, that's why we're here, are we not?
It was just a ticket, then it became a complaint, and then you guys put me on suspension, so I don't know when I was supposed to do a report.
Well,
And then even Sergeant Boone said this was gonna be nothing.
why would he
So
say
it's
that?
gonna be- I don't know. Ask him.
Okay.
was gonna take, he didn't know how he was gonna explain it. But I said, is this gonna be, you think this is gonna be an IA? He said, I don't think so.
Well, he testified that he spoke to you in the past about going past or going up to the line, going past it.
Yeah,
And he actually talked about this
we
after
had a
the,
conversation
okay, so,
about just, not just this, about everything going on.
right.
You know, cause I feel like he was maybe concerned about what might be going on in my personal life and things like that, how it may be affecting my job, and yeah, things weigh on me. This really had nothing to do with, this was Rock, the police officer, trying to get drugs off the streets and trying to clean up the streets. That's what this was.
I get that, and that's what we should do, but there's rules and regulations and policies and laws that we have to follow to get there. And unfortunately, the bad guy doesn't have to follow those policies, so
I agree with that.
that's why they put him in the places where they know you can't or shouldn't go. So, I mean, that's the struggles we have every day.
Let's move.
So,
Gotcha.
after you were suspended, they took your vehicle, your patrol vehicle, and Lieutenant Delator did a search of your vehicle to inventory. And in the car, you saw your photos, there was,
Do it right in one.
so I'll just, well, the first one is, the bullets or rounds in the door.
Is it your knee?
The second one is just showing,
What's, you wanna respond
So
on
that's
that?
what
Those
we
rounds are for
yesterday,
firearm.
they released the
okay,
car.
so just extra ammo?
Yes.
Okay. And the second one is just a cup in the console, and I think he's taking it for, overall.
Take a picture of this.
No, that's an air freshener cup. What's your name? One of the girls gave it to me this night. It's for air freshener, so to make your car smell better.
Okay, so he's just taking an overall shot, right?
Right, that's
Just
what
wait
happened.
to see how
And that's the entire interior patrol cup.
Up here, so.
And under that cup, he found some money in a plastic bag that appears to
the
be
car is kept
marijuana,
in the city.
cocaine or meth or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
What was it?
If
It was
you're
probably
gonna
cocaine.
start, or if
Do you remember where you got it?
Yeah, I got it from Provost
Yeah,
Park.
that point is really.
Me and Howard checked out with the group at Provost Park, about 4 or 5 of them.
They don't
And
usually
one of them
have
had a
it
gun
on.
on him, and we were looking around, and right standing, right next, on the ground, standing right next to another guy was 3 bags of that crack.
So you just picked it up?
Yeah, I had to do it, I tried, I talked to the guy, interviewed the guy, he wasn't claiming ownership of it, even though I knew it was his.
Picking up reports today.
So I just let him go, and I was gonna drop that in evidence, I just never got around to it, but I should have.
What happened to the other 2 bags?
There's,
It just took a little bit longer.
there's one there,
That's it.
and the other 2 just going.
And then this picture is between the seat and the, back shield, I guess, between the driver's seat and between that and the back seat.
Mhm.
There's crack cocaine in a plastic baggie.
Okay.
Where did this come from?
Honestly, I don't even, I mean, that, I don't even know that it was there, to be honest. Where, it was behind my seat?
It's behind the passenger seat. I mean,
So I'm in the driver's seat, he's in the passenger seat, it's here,
Yeah,
it's
behind,
behind you.
between the
So it could
shield.
have fell, or it could have been,
Yeah.
how long could it have been there? It could have been there for a while.
I don't
yeah, I
know,
don't
right?
know how long.
If
Right, I don't
you're
know.
writing a company,
So the question I would ask you is, did you ever search that area and see?
No,
there's no
The
report.
large plastic bag contains
Anything
several
you're
white rock
writing,
substance
you should
under the passenger
incorporate
seat.
that into
So that's where that was,
the
passenger seat,
administrative
under the passenger seat.
okay.
And in the trunk was a plastic bag with a $10 bill and a credit
allowed
card.
to a certain number of days for each.
I think that was a counterfeit bill, and that was maybe a credit card that I just found on the ground, it should have been dropped in evidence.
So do you, and also, speaking of the evidence in your mailbox was